The Polish army has ordered 96 fearsome Apache helicopters at a cost of around $12 billion. The war in Ukraine has showed us the effectiveness of the unmanned drone. So, is the Apache and its crew a white elephant? Or will the tacticians think up a new way to use people and machines? Join me, Darasz, for How We Got Here.
Boeing and General Electric companies.
Poland has signed two offset agreements linked to the purchase of 96 AH-64E Apache attack helicopters. The agreement have been signed with US firms Boeing and General Electric.
The Polish army is about to acquire these helicopters, which will really strengthen our readiness, our security in the face of what is happening beyond the borders of the Republic of Poland, that is, the war in Ukraine.
Offset deals compensate the country buying arms from abroad through cooperation between the foreign supplier and domestic companies. The agreement with Boeing will cover maintenance support for the helicopters and maintenance training. The Military Aviation Works in Łódź, as well as other Polish companies, will be involved in the implementation of the agreement.
Working together, we will jointly develop a robust network, combining the potential of WZL-1, WCBKT with the training of skilled professionals and maintainers at the Military University of Technology to support the Apache aircraft.
The deal with General Electric will focus on engine support for the Apaches and for power units in other Polish military helicopters.
Poland operates a variety of helicopter models, including the Sikorsky S-70I Blackhawk and the Leonardo AW149 and AW101. And all of those are powered by GE Aerospace's T-700 and CT-7 family.
The acquisition of helicopters was announced by Poland's previous government in 2022, but so far, a delivery contract has not yet been signed. Throughout 40 years in service, one thing about the Apache hasn't changed: its reputation as the world's most advanced and proven attack helicopter. With more than 1,200 in operation, the Apache represents the backbone of the US Army attack helicopter fleet and a growing number of international defense forces. With the AH-64E in production until at least 2028, the Apache will serve the US Army and its partner nations as the world's primary attack helicopter into the 2060s.
I'm delighted today to be joined by General Jarosław Kraszewski. He's the former director of the Armed Forces Supervision Department at the Polish National Security Bureau. Welcome to the programme.
And good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you as usual. Now, we're going to be talking helicopters today. And so can you give us an idea of what's in this current package of 90-odd Apache helicopters that the Polish Army has signed up?
First of all, we have to replace the former, still in use, but the former post-Soviet equipment. And one of the parts of all the equipment is exactly the helicopter package. And we are suffering a lot not having the good attack helicopters in the armed forces. So 96 Apache helicopters is the newest version. It's a version called Guardian. It comes together with maintenance, logistic, training, and additional equipment, which is basically ammunition which has to be installed on the Apache helicopters to be fully ready and fully operational during the potential actions together with the helicopters. The most important is that this version allows cooperation, very direct and cooperation, first of all, with F-16s, F-35s, and with Abrams. In total, we can say that it's a tremendous and big support for the Eastern Shield initiative introduced by the current Polish government to protect Polish territory, but also to protect the NATO and the European territories against any potential enemies' movements with tanks and other combat vehicles.
So when you say the cooperation between F-16s, helicopters and tanks, so does that mean in layman's terms that if a helicopter sees an enemy armoured force, they can directly engage or direct tanks on the ground to intercept?
Yes,
that sort of...
yes. Both air jets, combat air jets we are talking about is F-16 and F-35. Specifically, the last one is dedicated to provide you with the current and most updated information. You need to plan the actions conducted by your troops. If you connect it by the Link 16, which is installed on the Apache helicopters we bought, that gives you the broader perspective, because the one Apache can track approximately 300 different objectives at the same time, which is huge.
Yes.
Huge support for the intel operations. And in NATO, we call it the common operating picture, so all the commanders engage in the close combat. They know exactly where the enemy is and what the enemy is supposed to do with you. So in such a way, you can organize the anti-armor defensive operations that you are so effective, because Apache cannot fly to direct contact with the enemy, because the armament installed on the bird allows them to engage targets at the distance approximately 40 kilometers, which is quite impressive, let's say. In total, if we connect all the anti-tank assets together with all architecture, that gives you the huge power in your hands to protect your troops against any operations coming from the enemy.
And we talked a bit earlier about the defence industry, and the current war is a war of defence industries and capabilities. What are the benefits to the Polish defence industry with this deal?
As you remember, we are already engaged in such process, because there is a Sikorsky factory located in Mielec, Pisadel Mielec, manufacturing the Black Hawks in the basic version, of course. And having access to Apache, it's going to be the next step for the broader cooperation between the United States and Poland in terms of helicopter development. Of course, we need to have a lot of things additionally installed in the Polish armed forces, which are dedicated for the, let's say, digitalization of the infrastructure, because F-35 and the newest version of the Black Hawk, as well as those assets, what I mentioned, Abrams and others, HIMARS, they need to have access to the intel information in real time. You can do it to have the communication devices working in digital mode, protected against the enemy operations to interrupt and disconnect two or more elements of the net.
So that'll be the Polish contribution to the technology.
Yes, and we need this technology because there are some governmental and private companies really good and really skillful, but having solutions already, let's say, proved in the combat. That's what I call them. coming from the US, that would be great. This is exactly about the offset package.
Yes. How do you envisage the employment of these 96 huge fleet of gunships, of helicopters? Do you think they're going to be spread out and used in pairs, ones and twos, or as a concentrated force?
Normally in the US, this is at the division level. The division commanding general, which is basically two-star general, he decides how to engage such combat power in the overall concept of operations. And in our case, we should engage them exactly in the Eastern Shield project. Having the Abrams tanks already implemented in the Polish armed forces, waiting for the F-35. In total, that will create exactly what I have said before, the architecture of combat assets dedicated to destroy any armor power coming from the east.
How do you see the conditions in Europe affecting the Apache? We've been brought up by looking at the Apache or from our television screens in almost perfect conditions in deserts and sunny climates. How is Europe going to affect? I mean, the American pilots trained in the desert during the Second World War, bombing and precision bombing, and then came over and cloud everywhere and rain and fog and all that sort of stuff.
Europe is a perfect terrain to use such a combat tool, which is exactly Apache helicopter, because first of all, you have to fly to the points or to the piece of terrains where you will be ready and on the standby mode for combat operations, just to destroy the enemy's tanks. And the woods we have, hilly terrain in the Masurian Lakes region, it's just a perfect, in my opinion, it's a perfect terrain to operate with such machines like Apache. I know that it needs to have additional training, but currently, if we have a digit devices dedicated for the visual training, it's so easy. So we have simulators exactly like a cockpit in a real machine, and it's not so complicated to adopt the pilots between the simulator and the real machine.
So what is the impact of the drone technology on the Apache helicopter? Are they going to be paired up? Are they going to fight each other? I mean, surely it's a simplistic question.
I don't think so. It's a very good question. Thanks a lot for that. But it needs to have a lot of explanations, because right now, for such machines like Apache, drones could be a bit of danger, could create situations where flying over a particular terrain and meeting with the drones, it could be a bit of a disaster. This is why the officers being in charge of airspace coordination, they have to add additional tools and procedures just to, we call it deconflict the airspace, and protect each of the components. I mean, the helicopters and the drones doing their missions and not to influencing each other and one another. So it's important, but having machines, having computers on the command post, special software dedicated for command and control support, we need just to add additional tools to separate the corridors, and it's easy, but again, we have to reach the points where we can control more than 10 drones at the same time. So 10 is just It's not exactly 10, 12, or
Yeah,
13.
group, yeah.
Group of drones, yes, thank you. If we reach the point and we will be capable to control the group of our drones, and additionally to reach the point where we can control at the same time the group of drones coming from the enemy, basically enemy drones. This is the moment where we can say that those two assets, I mean helicopters and drones, are safe during the combined operations.
Just a bit of history now. What's the history of the evolution in helicopter, the role of the helicopter on the battlefield? Is it primarily Vietnam we see from the films, or is it earlier?
During the World War II, it was just to transport the VIPs, high-ranking officers.
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam operations, that was just for a quick transportation operation dedicated for the troops and the medical evacuation. Of course, during the Vietnam War, helicopters, probably the beginning where American side used that for the fire support as well. In normal operations where you are engaged with the enemy, you have to set up the little squad, we call it the QRF, Quick Reaction Force. And exactly that was, probably I'm not mistaken, that was the beginning of the QRF initiative in the US Army, where US troops used the birds for the quick transport and the support for the
whole division, didn't they?
For the troops being already engaged in the combat. Later, Iraq, and Iraq also, it was probably the most important for Apache helicopters to fight against the Iraqi infantry and the armored divisions, moving and maneuvering on the desert. And later Afghanistan. Afghanistan showed, and is still showing, that we need to have the powerful birds, specifically helicopters, to operate at the altitude about 2,000 meters and above.
Yeah. Yes, it's a true digital online battlefield now.
Yes, it is.
General Kraszewski, thank you very much for coming onto the programme. That's all, unfortunately, we have time for.
Great pleasure to be with you.
Great. So that's all we have time for. Please join us again for How We Got Here.